Hello there, everybody. It is me, XFreezerBunny, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. So today we're speed building a mansion called the Summerdream Estate. Now, this is going to be the third and final speed build in the series of builds where I try to recreate some of the famous homes in the Sims 2 world of Veronaville. So in case you guys aren't familiar with Veronaville, basically Veronaville is one of the three original neighborhoods that came with the Sims 2 base game alongside the other neighborhoods of Pleasant View and Strangetown. So what's interesting about Veronaville is that the storyline of the characters that live in it are actually inspired by the stories of William Shakespeare, specifically Romeo and Juliet, of course, because the entire neighborhood is named after the northern Italian village where Romeo and Juliet takes place. But some other characters from other works of Shakespeare also make an appearance, specifically Titania, Oberon, Bottom, and Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream. So that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. So I know what y'all are thinking. Let me just take a second to address the elephant in the room here. Okay, guys? So a lot of you guys are probably thinking, what the hell is he freaking smoking? Like, really, what the actual dickens? Because that thing does not look like the Summerdream house. Okay, so before you guys get a mental breakdown on me, let me just take a second to explain to you guys my thought process behind this. Because believe it or not, I did try to put a lot of thought into reimagining the Summerdream house. Okay, so basically, one thing that I noticed about Veronaville is that there are so many subtle hints and clues that refer to the social political environment that takes place in Veronaville. Specifically, the style of houses of the Monty and Cap families are very representative about their positions in society and how basically opposites they are. So basically, I decided to carry on that metaphor and make the Summerdream house more of a representation of this family's position as opposed to just a recreation of the house as it looked in The Sims 2. I wanted this to be more of like kind of like a symbolic aspect, and I wanted it to kind of be more meaningful in terms of how they are relevant to the narrative that takes place within Veronaville itself. So basically, the Summerdream family is supposed to be in between. They're supposed to be the mediators between the Caps and the Montys, as the Montys and the Caps have been in conflict for a very long time. The Summerdreams are believed to be the ones who are in between, basically. They're supposed to bring the peace to the entire community by uniting those two families, or at least that's what I believe. However, in The Sims 2, I feel like it's always implied that the Summerdream family is a little bit more in favor towards the Caps because the part of Veronaville where they live and also the style of house that they live in is very, very, very similar to the Caps mansion, or in this case, the Cap Castle. So for me, I felt like that was kind of like a misrepresentation of who they really are, because in the canon, or in the description of the family itself in The Sims 2, they're supposed to be in between. They're not supposed to favor a side. So I think that the fact that architectural styles play a really important role in establishing the positions of all these families, because the Caps and Montes, they have a very clear, they have a very clear position, basically. The house of the Cap family is very English Tudor style, whereas the house of the Monte family is very Spanish hacienda style. And I think that beyond how it looks from an aesthetic perspective, it symbolizes the fact that those two families are the exact opposite of each other, if that makes any sense. It symbolizes the differences between the Caps and the Montes. So for me, geographically, what's in between England and Spain is France. That's why I decided to draw inspiration from French Renaissance architecture, because I feel like more so than just being representative of how the Summerdream house looks in The Sims 2, I wanted this to be more of a social-political statement as to their position in society, and as to their role in uniting the warring families of Veronaville. So hopefully you guys got that explanation. I know it was a little bit lengthy, but I got very philosophical about this, and I got very metaphorical with this as well, because you know what? At this point, I'm just like giving myself so much artistic license, but also keeping in with the identity of the family. So even though from a stylistic standpoint, I did change a lot, but in essence, I kept a lot of the identity of the Summerdreams still intact. And basically, most of you guys are probably familiar with the Summerdream family as a family of insane party people. In fact, when you actually enter the Summerdream house for the first time in The Sims 2, there is a crazy house party taking place, thrown by the family's eldest son, Puck Summerdream. And in this party, there are family members from both the Cap and also the Monte family. So it's really interesting. It's a really complex web of stories and narratives. And I feel like I'm contributing a part of it by, kind of like giving it my own twist and giving it my own interpretation. So hopefully none of you guys will hate me for it. And hopefully I would not see people having a mental breakdown in the comments, because I did think a lot about it, and hopefully you guys will understand my perspective in doing this. So, initially, this house was supposed to be a lot smaller. In the first couple of minutes of the video, you guys probably saw that I actually started to build this in a much smaller lot in Windenburg. However, after reading your guys' comments in my previous two videos, I was just like, nope, I'm not gonna disappoint these people. So I did get a little bit more ambitious, and I decided to enlarge the lot a little bit. So I moved it to this one lot in Willow Creek. It's the lot where the park used to be, and basically I made it a lot bigger. I've added two garages on either side of the house, basically, which gives it the illusion of a much larger house. But this is still actually a very small house. It only has 3 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. So yeah. And also, like I said earlier in the video, I was pretty much influenced by French Renaissance architecture. Specifically, my inspiration for the shape of the house is actually one of my favorite chateaux, Chateau de Chaverny. Initially, this was supposed to be symmetrical. You guys can see when I first started to build, it was supposed to be completely symmetrical, but I decided to go asymmetrical instead, and it actually turned out really nice. So for the asymmetry, I was actually inspired by Chateau de Viandry and let's see here. Yeah, Chateau de Villandry and Chateau de Chenonceau a little bit. And for the brick portions of the house, I was inspired by the Clos Lucé, or the house of Leonardo da Vinci. I was gonna say DiCaprio, but Leonardo da Vinci, and also Chateau de Blois. And then for the landscaping, I was inspired by the formal gardens of Chateau de Chenonceau. That was a mouthful, but I'm glad that I remembered all of those chateaus. You guys also probably saw that there was a jump where there suddenly was this landscape layout. I will actually transfer the slot for a third time, and when I transfer it, I'm gonna be redoing the landscaping, so I decided to actually edit out the parts where I laid it out for the first time, because I'm literally gonna be redoing that for the second time later on when I transfer this into another lot actually here in Willow Creek. It's the lot right next to the beach, and one thing that I noticed actually building on this lot was that some of the landscaping actually glitched out every time I would move the lot and stuff. Like, I use a lot of terrain paint, and I noticed that the terrain paint actually kind of messes up a little bit. It doesn't quite stay where it's supposed to be when you rotate the lot. So I thought that that glitch was brought upon by the fact that I built this lot on a community lot. So I moved it into a residential lot, but still I realized that if you actually rotate the lot, the terrain painting is still gonna get messed up a little bit, where it doesn't match up. Because, you know, the terrain paint for this lot was very, very precise. So for me, there was just no way that I was going to let it glitch out on me. That's why I decided to move to a third lot a little bit later on. Also, there's going to be a lot of changes that's going to happen once we move on to that third lot. And I decided to just include all of that footage because I wanted you guys to see my entire thought process and how much this house evolved from my initial concept of it being more of like a vineyard style house to pretty much becoming the palace that it is right now. It has gone so far and it has evolved so much. And I wanted you guys to kind of see that unfold because, you know, it's very interesting to see things from start to finish. And, you know, you realize like how things change so much in the time that you build it. It's like, it's crazy. So for the interior scheme, I decided to go for a more French countryside / Provence aesthetic. So there's going to be a lot of white wood paneling. There's going to be a lot of muted pastel colors. There's also going to be some hints of the countryside in some of the furniture as well. So you guys will be seeing that. For the kitchen, I actually really liked how the kitchen turned out. It's basically a kitchen and a breakfast area, and I really liked how it turned out. I think the black and white looks so chic, and it looks very French, so I was really happy with how that turned out in the end. And for the dining room area, I just went with something that was very French looking, so I went for some very kind of like very formal looking chairs or very posh looking chairs, but also to make it a little bit more casual, I added some chairs that are more retro themed, but still keeping the black and white aesthetic, which is pretty much the uniting force all throughout this house. I'm really happy with those new color palette options that came with those chandeliers from the base game. I really, really like the white that they have. So yeah. Okay, so it looks like this is going to be the part where we transfer to our third and final house. And you guys will also see me lay out the landscaping because when I plopped this, it also screwed up the landscaping as well. But don't you guys worry, when you plop this into this exact same house lot, the landscaping patterns will remain. So you guys don't have to worry about that glitching out. I also highly suggest that you guys keep the move objects sheet on if you are plopping this lot because I did use it quite a bit. Not too much. The house is still functional, but a lot of the decorative items were placed with the move objects sheet on, so just keep that in mind. Also, this house, I also did something very different here where I rotated the entire house. So basically the front, when I started, ended up in the back, and the back when I started ended up in the front. So basically the part where the kitchen is now facing the garden in the back, where when I originally built this, it was facing the front. So I don't know, I just liked how that looked in the end. I liked how the more elaborate part of the building was actually facing towards the formal garden or the parterre. So I really like that. Also, earlier on in this build, I placed that one dome thing on one of the octagonal rooms. I used a fountain to make like a dome, just to add a little bit more of like some architectural detail to it as well. So you guys just saw me erase pretty much all of the landscape patterns that I placed initially. And then right now we are laying out the exact same patterns into this new lot because, like I said, it got screwed up when I plopped this in. Also, I changed some of the terrain colors just to match this exact same setting because it has a little bit of a more brighter color scheme with like all of the different like terrain colors and stuff. It has a little bit brighter color scheme, so I used some nicely textured terrain paints for that. And also, instead of actually painting on the patterns on this kind of mowed lawn area, I actually just erased the darker terrain paint that I did, just so that it would make a more interesting pattern. Actually, it's a nod to the landscaping in the House of the Caps. So in my previous build a couple of weeks ago when I did the Cap Castle, they have the exact same landscape in their front lawn. So that was kind of a nod to the fact that in The Sims 2, the Summerdream house was more similar in style and in aesthetic to the Cap house. That was kind of like a little bit of a nod. So right now we're actually working on the landscaping, which is a little bit weird. I'm just gonna lay it out here and I will fill in the planter boxes later on in this build, but I felt like I needed to lay out the landscaping early just to know where things are supposed to go, because there are a couple of other structures actually which I neglected to talk about. On one side, we have kind of like the pool house, and on the other side we have kind of like a gazebo for liaisons for the teenagers. If they want to meet in private, they have the gazebo to have that. And also, I actually had trouble incorporating a swimming pool in this. That's why I decided to actually make an indoor pool. And basically the idea for that is to have an orangerie, or what originally was supposed to be an orangerie, and renovate it into a pool area. If you guys don't know what an orangerie is, it's basically where great houses would keep their tropical plants during the colder seasons, because tropical plants like oranges and lemons were a status symbol, and they would be displayed in palaces and big houses and stuff. And unfortunately, during the colder months, they would obviously die because they couldn't survive. So orangeries were structures that they would keep them in. And I actually decided to put the pool in the orangery because I actually saw in many palaces actually that they renovate their orangeries. Like, I think it was the orangery in, I'm not sure, but it was probably the one in like, Kensington Palace, where it got turned into like a restaurant or something. I'm not sure if that was it, but I've seen many orangeries that were converted into restaurants. So you know what? I decided to make the one in this palace into a swimming pool or into an indoor swimming pool. So yeah, you guys just saw me lay out the gardens. And like I said earlier in this build, the gardens are inspired by the landscaping in the Chateau de Chenonceau. So the areas where there is brown terrain paint, where there is ground, is going to be the areas where I'm going to be filling it up with colorful flowers and stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing that later on in this build. So yeah, once again for the interiors, there's a lot of wood paneling and also a lot of striped wallpaper as well. I don't know about the striped wallpapers, but they just looked really French to me. So I decided to actually incorporate those in some of the rooms. Now, the room that we're working on right now is actually supposed to be quote unquote the party room / downstairs living room. Yes, there is another living room upstairs, which is a more private, intimate living room. This one though is supposed to be kind of like where they would host their crazy parties. Pretty much that's why there is a stereo. And basically the idea for that room was that they would kind of like take away or like remove the furniture. If there's a party, they would like remove all of the furniture in that room, and it would be basically one big dance room or like dance floor or ballroom or something. So yeah, there is a sofa and a couple of chairs here so that the Sims can watch TV if they wanted it to. There is another room specifically for watching TV actually on the second level, where the kids can also play computer games and stuff. But that's why I just chose to put a cheaper TV in this room, because the intention for this room was really not for people to watch TV, and it was more of like a dance room and stuff. So yeah, actually it turned out really nice. I like the color combination. Once again, lots of blacks and whites because I wanted it to look really chic. So yeah, right here we have a secret room. Secret because the way you enter this room is actually through a secret bookshelf, but it's actually kind of like the music room. There is a piano and also a really expensive violin. A 15,000 simoleon violin, if I remember correctly, is in that one room onto the farthest most corner of the house. I just wanted to make a room where it was very private and it was very secluded. So I chose the secret octagonal room for the family to kind of practice their music and to have their intimate time with each other and intimate time with their music as well, because, you know, music is pretty intimate and it's pretty personal. So I wanted to give them that space where they can do that. And of course, I also included I've also made it as a point. I also made it a point to include an office area, just because the Summer Dreams are pretty well off. So this is probably where they would entertain more corporate guests, if you guys get what I mean. This probably where Titania or Oberon would entertain more important clients. So yeah. So it looks like that is pretty much it for the landscaping on the ground floor. And once again, as per Freezer Bunny policy, I don't include in my videos anymore the furnishing of the hallways as well as some bathrooms as well, just to save on some time, because usually these mansion builds tend to be very lengthy. So I have a policy, quote unquote policy, of not including some footage from, you know, furnishing some of the rooms that can get redundant. And those rooms are usually the hallways and also some of the bathrooms as well, because the furnishing for those are very repetitive. So I just choose to not include them anymore. So right now we are working on the second level of the house. And this is the level where most of all of the bedrooms are located. So basically we have the bedrooms of Titania, Oberon, Puck, and Bonham here. If you guys really needed to add an extra bedroom, I actually recommend you guys just refurnish the office bedroom downstairs. That would make for a perfect guest bedroom or a perfect butler's bedroom actually. So yes. Right now we're working on the bedroom of Titania and Oberon, and basically, I just tried to make their bedroom as chic as possible. And actually, interesting information here: Titania and Oberon are actually not married. They are partners, more of like boyfriend and girlfriend, and Puck and Bottom are actually not their biological children. I believe they were adopted by Oberon, and then Titania got into the picture, and they are one big happy family. A little bit unconventional, to be honest, but nevertheless happy, and that is honestly all that matters. So for Titania and Oberon's bedroom, I just went for a more muted, kind of like neutral color scheme. And yeah, the octagonal area is where I imagine either Titania and Oberon to practice their painting skills. So there is going to be an easel there, and also some other painting related decor items as well. But yeah, I just kept it really simple for this one, and nothing too crazy. Of course, very sophisticated as well, because I feel like Titania has a lot of taste. Every time I would move a sim into Veronaville for the first time, I would always make her Titania's best friend. So Titania, I would always seek her out and try to befriend her as often as I can. So also, usually I would move in my sim into one of the starter homes in Veronaville, and basically one of those starter homes would usually be right next to the house of the Summerdreams. That's why Titania would always be knocking on my door, and she would be my first best friend. So yeah. The master bathroom is the only bathroom that we're going to be furnishing. Also, you know what? Can I just bring this up? I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this before, but I always, in many of my builds, I always mention, or I always confuse bathrooms with bedrooms. Like, I honestly feel like I'm dyslexic, you guys, because I keep saying in my builds, I keep confusing bedrooms and bathrooms, that word. And every time I would say it in my commentary, I would not notice that I'm saying bedroom instead of bathroom. So it just gets really confusing for me, and I honestly should get checked. I'm not diagnosed as dyslexic, but I feel like I am, or I probably just have no attention span. Cause when I'm doing my commentary, there gets to a point like halfway through the commentary where I'm not really paying attention anymore, and I just kind of ramble nonsense. Not really nonsense. I still pay attention to what I say, but like only half of what I say, if that makes any sense. That probably makes no sense, but I don't know. That's just something that I noticed in a couple of my recent builds, where I would say the word bedroom, and I would actually be referring to a bathroom instead. So anyway, the room that we're furnishing on right now is actually Bottom's bedroom, and I actually was not familiar of a character named Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream, but apparently she exists. So yeah, in this case, Bottom is the youngest child of the Summerdreams. Like Puck, she's also adopted, and Bottom, honestly, for me, she is such a stressful child, because she is the prankster of the family, and she's kind of like a spoiled brat, in my opinion. I kind of hate her, to be honest, because I hate kids like that. But yeah, she is a spoiled brat, and she likes to play pranks on her poor brother Puck. I feel like she might have ruined some of the interactions between Puck and Puck's potential girlfriend Hermia. So yeah. Actually, one of you guys have hinted on a possible theory that there is this love triangle between Puck, Hermia, and possibly Mercutio. So, I'm really, really interested to hear more about that. And you guys have been giving me such a good response when it came to this series in recreating or reimagining Veronaville. So I'm really, really happy that you guys have been giving me such a good response for this series. And a lot of you guys have been supporting it so far. So hopefully, I really, really hope that I didn't disappoint you guys in my choice of style for this build. It might get very controversial since I know that a lot of you guys are expecting a Tudor style build for the Summerdream house. But to be honest, I would not have built it any other way than this way, and I'm really, really happy with it. Alrighty, so the final bedroom that we're gonna be furnishing is actually Puck's bedroom, and you guys will notice that there is kind of like a recurring blue color scheme here, and also there's a lot of space and aeronautics theme happening as well. I just thought that Puck was kind of into that sort of thing. He also wears a lot of blue, I think, in The Sims 2. I'm not sure. I'm probably confusing him with Oberon, but I don't know. One of them wears a lot of blue. One of them actually wears like this blue pirate outfit, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, hashtag not judging. But yeah, that is pretty much it for Puck's bedroom. And like I said, there might be a love triangle between Puck, Hermia, and Mercutio. So yes. Also, in case you guys aren't familiar with the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream, Puck is actually the prankster in that story. You know what? Let me just refresh it to you guys who are not familiar with it. So basically, A Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy written by William Shakespeare. And it basically involves a bunch of lovers, actually 4 lovers. I don't remember all of their names, but one of them was definitely named Demetrius, and one of them was definitely named Hermia. And basically these 4 lovers were trying to elope together. And basically they ended up finding themselves in one of the forested areas outside of Athens, Greece. And it was kind of like a coincidence, but the fairies living in the forested area or in the grove, the fairies decided to like play a prank on these lovers. So basically Puck basically confuses all of them, and the 4 lovers are under a spell where they no longer recognize their love interest for a temporary amount of time. So it's really funny. It's really annoying and it's really disappointing, but it's really funny. I've actually discovered for the first time A Midsummer Night's obviously I'm like out there right now. I'm probably like really tired from doing this commentary for like 30 minutes straight. So yeah, you guys, my mind is no longer like functioning properly right now. So if my commentary gets a little bit whack, then please bear with me because I've been talking for like 30 minutes straight. And yeah, anyway, back to the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So basically Puck basically screws up the love potion, and the lovers basically just get confused, and it's all funny, but in the end everybody lives happily ever after, or so we think. Maybe they got lost and found themselves in the world of Romeo and Juliet, who knows. Anyway, the last part of my statement was just really crazy, and that was just a random thing that I wanted to say. But anyway, the first time that I actually encountered A Midsummer Night's Dream was actually in Mickey Mouse show, in like this Mickey Mouse episode thing where basically Mickey, Minnie, and I think it was Donald and Daisy got confused. It was basically A Midsummer Night's Dream, only a Disney version of it. So yeah. Really, really quickly, the room that we were just working on was actually kind of like the formal lounge area where, you know, the adults would go and retire in the evenings and maybe have a drink of alcohol or two. So yeah. Really, really interesting tidbit of information that I just want to share with you guys is that when I was in high school, many, many, many years ago, way, way back in history, really not really, but when I was a senior in high school, we actually did a speech choir my voice cracked, but we actually did a speech choir on a Midsummer Night's Dream. And a speech choir is basically when you would have like a choir of like maybe 30 people, and instead of singing, they would perform it in a more poetic and a more theatrical way. So basically, we do it every year, and for the first time when we were seniors, we actually won our speech choir performance, and we actually won twice. We got to represent our class in a school level competition, and we also got to represent the entire city in a more provincial level competition. So I was really proud of that. I wasn't a part of the actual choir itself. I was more of like an art director for that. I was kind of like the head of like the art department all the time. So basically I was in charge of coordinating all the different costumes, all the sets, and designing all of those actually, from the backdrop that we use on stage to the costumes to the props. I basically designed everything, and I was basically in charge of making sure that everything was cohesive, everything was in line with how it's supposed to look, because I believe that A Midsummer Night's Dream is actually supposed to take place in Greece. So I had to make sure that I had to design correct and historically, to a degree, accurate togas for the men and the women, and then fairy outfits for the fairies and all that stuff, and also design unique costumes for the main stars of the production as well, like Demetrius and Hermia, and I forgot the names of the other ones, Puck as well. Also had to design Puck's flower that he uses to, I think, fix the prank for everybody. But yeah, it was so fun, and I was really proud of that we actually won it when we were in senior year. So it looks like right now we are working on the garden area, and you guys just saw me furnish the swimming pool area as well. But for the swimming pool, nothing too crazy. There's just this relatively good sized pool, but I decided to actually make the garden here a little bit more elaborate, and I decided to add another structure to the garden, which is kind of like the stage area. I actually noticed that the Summerdream house was very reminiscent of the Globe Theatre from Shakespeare, and the Globe Theatre is a recreation of like Shakespeare's actual Globe Theatre in London. But I noticed that the back of the house is actually very, very reminiscent of that one. So I decided to add some theatrical flair by adding a stage in the backyard. And of course, the backyard of the Summerdream house is a party garden. Basically, it's like a crazy place for parties. There's a hot tub, there is like a stereo, there's like some bars and stuff, and I'm talking about the one in The Sims 2. So basically, for this version in The Sims 4, I just tried my best to have all of those elements to it, and also make it kind of like a French parterre or a French formal garden, basically. And like I said, I was inspired by the landscaping in the Chateau de Chenonceau. So the alternating color schemes of the plants actually is inspired by that. So basically there's a predominantly red, white, and yellow. I feel like that's some country's flag. Colombia, Venezuela reminds me of a red, white, and yellow flag. But anyway, in reference images that I have of the Chateau de Chenonceau, it has like this alternating flower beds where it had red, white, and yellow flowers, and that's basically the inspiration for this parterre. So yeah. Also added in some topiaries as well, just to give some formality as well to the outside. But it looks like that is finally it for the speed build. Finally, I can have my lunch. But anyway, really, really quickly, I just want to thank everybody who has been a part of this build and everybody who has contributed to naming this as the Summerdream Estate. Thank you to everybody who has sent me their support and also send me their suggestions as well. And also, just special thank you to everybody who has watched all my other speed builds in this series. Thank you so much for making this a success, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and have some lunch and wrap up my commentary right here, okay guys? So once again, please don't forget to hit that like, favorite, and subscribe button if you guys had fun watching this video, because it really helps out the channel a lot, okay? You all have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!